What's up, y'all? I go by Naughta, and I flipped What's Poppin' by Jack Harlow.
Brand new whip, just hopped in. I got options. I can pass that bitch like Stockton.
So I feel like I got into music a pretty similar way as like a lot of people. Started off like DJing back in like high school. It actually goes way before that, just with my name being DJ. There's been like a long ongoing joke about like, oh yeah, he's gonna be a DJ, or like, are you a DJ? And I'm like, nah, I'm not a DJ. And that's actually where the name Naughta comes from, just like as a play on that. So I draw inspiration from just about like everything I, take in. I dabble in a lot of different styles of art and mediums that like go beyond just music. I know I drew a lot of inspiration growing up with a lot of like neo soul, like R&B stuff my parents used to listen to growing up. A lot of like real loose swing groove type stuff. A lot of early 2000s hip hop. It's just what we came up on. And the EDM scene is still pretty relatively new. So like everything that's coming out right now is like giving some sense of inspiration, which is cool. I ended up losing my job, like unfortunately, fortunately, depending on how you look at it, back in like April when all this stuff first started going down. I realized like, this is the first time I've actually had a solid amount of free time to do what I like want to focus on. So a lot of it, like when all of that like work, shows, and just like going outside and being around people was just all like gone, I was like, all right, I have nothing else to focus on. Let me just like go balls to the wall on music. When I like first went into, or like he first hit me up like, yo, I want you to remix What's Poppin', I had no idea what kind of direction I wanted to go with it. So it took me a little while to kind of like play around with the different parts of it and just like listen to it a few times to kind of figure out what kind of flow I wanted, or what kind of like direction I wanted to take it. And I think a lot of it ended up leaning on like the flow of like how Jack Harlow raps, like, and playing off of like his wordplay and the way he delivers his delivery, and kind of playing off that flow. And that kind of built to the energy, like the things that I built upon that kind of like developed the energy around the track. And one of the first things that like really kind of latched on and sparked an idea that turned to the whole thing was this first little pluck part right here.
What's poppin'? What's poppin'?
That's a little. So that's actually straight from the instrumental. If you I'm just gonna copy and paste it over here. And then if I turn on the little bit of distortion I have on it, it's just like a little pluck thing. But it's actually not a pluck. It is, if I undo the kind of warping I have on it, Ableton has some pretty cool warp modes, and I have one on beats, so it only like takes the first part of each like transient beat. So if I were to turn that off and just like stretch it out,
What's poppin'?
it's literally just like the first piano part. And I just kind of duplicated it and was like, that's kind of cool. And then after turning on the beats mode, it just kind of like chops them up. And then I just turned them down, just like turned it down to like get into a different key. Found something I liked right there. Put a little bit of distortion on it, make it sound like its own instrument. And then that was like, all right, I'm gonna just loop that and just get that going. From there, it's just kind of like, all right, just add some drums, kind of building everything up as it goes.
Just joshing. I'm spinning this holiday locking. My body got rid of toxins. Sports in the top 10. I can put the ball in the end zone, put a bad bitch in the friend zone. This shit.
Yeah, so after that, obviously one of the things you need in like hip hop, trap is like bass, nice like crisp sounding bass, or distorted sounding bass, which is actually what I went for on this one. So this bass is actually one that I made from a different song for, it's actually another remix from my homie Harry. Shout out Harry. But it's a pretty like straight, beefy, big like distorted, got a lot of noise on it. Really nice for like heavy stuff. But If you play it, you know, underneath everything, kind of like it's overwhelming. It overtakes a lot of it. Like it goes, but it's like not. It's supposed to be the main thing. It's supposed to be the vocals. And like I said, a lot of this was when I started getting into like a groove of figuring out what I wanted to do with it. A lot of it was tailored around his vocals and like how his delivery was, and kind of like matching that flow with the instruments or with the instrumental. So what I did was to give the bass some like some movement and like kind of make it fit better. I put on this filter, or like this volume filter that kind of gives it a little like whoop whoop wub sound to it. And that way it's kind of like still there, but it's not in the way. And then just added another ARP at the end. Just kind of like just add another layer, you know, and just keep the world building going. Once that was arranged, going back in, like making a couple like little chops and like the dancer candy we were talking about. It's like in the field, and I move like a dime. In the field, I move like a dime. Just cut the dime part out and replaced it with like an actual dime. You know, just little things like that. These little like vocal fills that are also from the song itself. Fire solo. Do the same thing I did with the pluck. Just another beats mode, warping. If I turn that off, unwarped it and stretched it out.
Brand new whiz.
It's just really distorted again. Yeah, almost exact same deal.
Brand new.
It's really.
That's what that was.
Yeah, it's just him going. But with every.
Play the actual song again. Like I want to hear like where you put that in. Actually.
It's throughout the whole song, bro. It's real slight. Yeah. It's just a real slight. But it adds to the rhythm. You know, like you don't notice it, but it adds to that groove. Like if that wasn't there, it would still be like pretty straight. But it's straight and then straight, and then back to it, you know. One of the things that I do in like almost all my songs is just add like a layer of white noise, kind of like push up the noise floor. But instead of just adding white noise, which a lot of people do, and high passing it, I like add a little filter sweep, like a little small filter sweep that's going up and down to kind of give it some movement. It's just super subtle. But it's again one of those things like if you didn't notice it, it'd feel a little bit more empty. Or it's just listening to that. But if you add like that, and then you add like that, and you add like this little flare thing, like all the things are happening behind the scenes and like kind of pushing the song, and that's what like really develops that groove. A lot of the best ideas I come up with are based off of like experimentation. I've gotten to the point in my music making where it's not like, oh, I have this idea, I want to make it. But a lot more of the really unique, experimental, like me stuff that I'll make will be like, all right, what if I took this idea I had but made it in this person's style? Or like, what if I took, you know, a Jack Harlow sample and like just chopped everything up and then reversed it, and then that'll be the starting point. Big shout out HayWyre. I'm really excited to see what he does with it. Like I know how dope of a dancer he is, so I'm psyched to see. Should be interesting to see.
What's poppin'? Brand new whip, just hopped in. I got options. I can pass that bitch like stocking. Just joshing. I'm spending this holiday locked in. My body got rid of them toxins. Sports in the top 10. I can put the ball in the end zone, put a bad bitch in the friend zone. This shit sound like an intro jet song. Give me the tap. Go here, full with the shit. Told her don't let her friends know. In the village, I move like a. You can put a chicken in Vincenzo's. Yeah, my amigos got that free smoke on the West Coast. Yeah, I'm talking about pre-rolls. Dark hair bitch, she look like she go. She do. hometown hero, feeling myself, can't murder my ego. She heard my deep smoke, she said, babe, this when I deep though. Certified freak, oh, hang around us, she's learning my lingo. Back then, wasn't worried about me though. In the gym, trying to work on my free throw. Goddamn, spending money at the club like Sam. Yes, ma'am, she a little freak on cam. She don't put this on the ground. Little boys trying to piss on the ground. I can't switch on the fam. Shit's hot, switch on the fan.